Let's dive right into today's explainer. We're breaking down a really fascinating and honestly highly technical piece of AI news. There's a brand new preprint out on Archive that uncovers this completely hidden mechanism that is secretly sabotaging large language models during in-context learning. We're going to explore how the very format of the data you're retrieving and injecting into your models might literally be hijacking their attention.
So this brings us to a pretty provocative question. Is your pristine RAG data silently killing your LLM? As engineers, we pretty much always assume that injecting perfectly relevant, highly structured data, think knowledge graphs, into a RAG pipeline is an automatic win for performance. It just makes intuitive sense, right? Better structure should equal better answers. But researchers have uncovered this massive, completely unsolved mystery where that exact structural alignment actually leads to a totally inexplicable drop in model performance. To figure this out, here's our roadmap for today. We'll hit the silent RAG bottleneck, the structural attention tax, how format hijacks attention, the real performance cost, and finally, how we go about fixing this tax.
Okay, Section 1, the silent R bottleneck. Let's take a look at the hidden symptom of this disease.
Imagine you're actively optimizing your pipeline. Your retrieval quality is going up, your semantic matching is totally flawless, but somehow your LLM's accuracy inexplicably stays flat or even gets worse. Well, researchers Yuki Zhang and Di Zhang actually coined a formal definition for this. They call it the structural attention tax. Basically, it's this phenomenon where the format of your injected content, like formatting knowledge graph triples as subject-predicate-object, distorts the model's attention entirely independent of the semantic relevance. It's actively diverting attention away from those carefully crafted demonstration tokens you put in. It operates completely independent of the actual content. The format itself is the real culprit here.
Moving to Section 2, the structural attention tax. Let's look at the actual math behind this bottleneck.
Just look at this stark contrast between the structural and semantic axes. When your model processes knowledge graph triples, those tokens capture a massive 0.70 attention per token. But when it processes semantically equivalent natural language text, it only captures about 0.25 attention per token. Think about that. That means structured triples are capturing nearly 3 times more attention per token than plain text, and it's simply because of how they're formatted.
And the fallout from that statistic is an absolutely astounding 42%. Because highly structured tokens so aggressively monopolize the context window, up to 42% of your demonstration signals are compressed and just completely lost. And the crazy part, this happens regardless of whether those injected triples are perfectly relevant to your prompt or just pure noise. Your model is literally starving your few-shot examples of attention because it gets way too distracted by the shiny, repetitive structure of the data you just retrieved.
So, on to Section 3, how format hijacks attention. Why exactly does a model develop such an obsession with format?
Well, the researchers prove mathematically that attention heads act almost like an invasive species here. They lock right onto predictable syntactic markers, things like relational delimiters and repeated slot patterns in JSON or RDF formats. The underlying math, specifically Equation 2 and Proposition 1 from the paper, proves that attention is actually operating on 2 completely separate tracks. You have a semantic component and a structural component. And unfortunately for us, your model cares way more about formatting delimiters than the actual meaning of your text, which directly causes your demonstration tokens to lose their focus.
I absolutely love this quote from their analysis because it just perfectly summarizes the whole hijacking analogy. The semantic content becomes secondary to the structural rhythm. It's like, even if you have perfectly aligned, highly relevant knowledge graphs, they will still degrade your performance if their rhythmic, repetitive structure starves the prompt's demonstration tokens of attention. The model essentially gets caught tapping its foot to the structural rhythm and completely ignores the lyrics, the actual semantic content of your prompt.
All right, Section 4, the real performance cost. Let's look at the empirical devastation this causes. When tracking the impact across Mistral and Llama models on the Hotpot QA benchmark, the results are honestly staggering. You're looking at a massive 30+ percentage point cliff. Task-matched BM25, which is really just your standard natural language keyword retrieval, completely crushes ConceptNet knowledge graph retrieval. We're talking a score of roughly 62 compared to a dismal 27. And hey, if you think you can just fix this with architectural gating strategies, nope. Gating barely moves the needle, giving you less than a 2 percentage point improvement. The structural attention tax just bulldozes right through standard RAG defenses.
So, Section 5, fixing the attention tax. How do we actually cure this disease and fix our pipelines today?
Out of the 5 structure-aware mitigation strategies the researchers tested, simply spreading tokens out across the context window, a technique they call structural dispersal, only yields mixed results. This really highlights just how incredibly stubborn format-level challenges are. And like we just saw, architectural gating is totally insufficient. So your most reliable intervention by far is format flattening. This means converting those highly structured triples back into natural language. Doing this yields validated, proven improvements in both model accuracy and attention.
So, if you're an AI engineer tuning into this explainer, here's your practical, everyday playbook. Step 1. Audit your formats immediately. Comb through your retrieval output and look for KIG triples, highly delimited JSON, or web data formats like RDF. Step 2. Prioritize your semantic relevance first, because task match quality is obviously still paramount. And finally, Step 3. Implement format flattening right at the retrieval layer. Normalize those structured triples into plain old natural language before they ever get injected into your prompt.
Really? The core takeaway from all this research is this: optimizing retrieval quality, which is your semantic axis, and reducing format-driven attention capture, your structural axis, can no longer be lumped together into one bucket. They have to be treated as completely independent, parallel engineering tasks. By treating the content and the format as distinct problems to solve, you ensure your demonstrations aren't getting starved of attention by overstructured noise.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to look closely at your current RAG pipelines and ask yourself one final question. What other silent structural biases are hiding in your prompts right now? Because as this new research conclusively proves, the way you format your data might actually be just as important, if not more important than the data itself. Thanks so much for joining me to explore this structural attention tax. Keep flattening those formats, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.